Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Knife Chats with Tobias. Okay, this is going to take a second look at, I think it must be KF7018, which is a Lewis Martin knife. And these are, I believe, probably out of Pakistan. I don't know for sure, but Lewis Martin Cutlery is located at 78 Daly Road, East Northport, New York. And it says here they also deal in custom orders. Get a hold of custom.salvation@hotmail.com. So he might be getting his blades or something. He might be picking up blade blanks out of Pakistan or somewhere and then making them himself here in the United States. I don't know for certain, and I really don't care. This is going to actually talk about this specific knife and what I did with it and how well it worked doing those kind of things. And I got to tell you, overall, I was really impressed with it. And well, before we go on, let's take a look at some of the things I did with this knife, and then we'll get around to the rest of the review. So this is going to be a very short review or a little bit longer of a review. We'll find out in just a second. This could prove a little messy, or maybe something to clean up with. Now, ordinarily, I do not do those kind of things with knives that I own, but that is kind of what this knife was designed to do, punch holes in things. And I felt fairly confident that it was going to be able to handle this stuff quite well. The other option was to take and start punching a bunch of cantaloupes with it, and quite frankly, the metal can was here. It was already damaged, and it's like, what the heck, I'll just punch some holes in it and see how well it does, figuring, hey, if it'll punch a hole in the metal, then it'll punch a hole in cantaloupe. And then I thought, hey, might be cool to punch a hole through a bottle of dishwashing detergent. So that's what I did, and as you saw, it went right through both of them with very little problem. I tell you what, it is none the worse to wear for punching through that the bottom of that popcorn tin, and you saw how easily it went through the bottle of dishwashing detergent. No problem whatsoever. So I would hate for this to be punched into basically any part of my body, because I got a feeling it would go through with very little problem whatsoever. Now, when the item first came, you can turn back to that video if you want. I'll put a link to it. I mentioned that the edge seemed to be rolled over, and like there was a burr all the way along the edge, and there was a burr all the way along the other edge. And so what I did is I took a whetstone and I removed the burr, and then I tried to sharpen it. But if you can tell there, maybe you can, maybe you can't, it is a very thick blade, and the edge of the blade here really is not conducive to putting a good sharp edge on there, simply because of how thick this blade is. If you can see here. All right. If you notice here, 4.5 millimeters, and then actually when you get closer out to the front, 5.1 millimeters, because you can feel it when you're running it right through here. This blade actually gets thicker at the end here It's a little thinner back here, but up at the front here, it is got like a little bulge before it comes down into the front point. And so what you've got is a very thick, strong blade, and that's why it punches so well. However, it is kind of like needle-like pointy in the front. Not sharp enough now since piercing a can several times, but still very sharp. I mean, very sharp. I could definitely put it into a piece of cardboard with no problem, and I could still also punch it right through that can again with no problem. And that's really what the knife is designed for. And despite all that punching and everything is still holding up quite well. What I can tell you is the finish isn't the best. You can see right here with the brass sleeve for the lanyard hole here. If you notice, this side kind of like a teardrop shape, and this side is completely rounded, or much more of an oval than the other side. I don't know why that is the case, but everything held up quite well. I have since cleaned it a little bit. You can see the micarta here is kind of rubbing from my hand. So I don't know how good the quality of the micarta is, but it is showing some wear and tear from my hand rubbing into it. But it's not really damaging it or anything. It just a little off coloring from the moisture of my hand and everything. Also, I have washed it with soap and water, so that might be some of the problems too. This acrylic or plastic or whatever is up in front, you notice that it is not the straightest going across here. This side kind of, it starts lower on this side than and it ends up higher over here. And on this side, it kind of does just the opposite. And you can see there that the lineup is not perfect or anything, but it's really not awful, and it would be something I could easily fix myself if I wanted to get a file and file it down a bit. Not too concerned about it, but the swirliness in the plastic is kind of nice. I don't know what kind of plastic it is, but it's okay. And the knife really does feel good in the palm. And well, you saw in the video, punching with it is absolutely no problem at all. And matter of fact, it's really kind of fun. And it held up well during the punching. As for the blade geometry, like I said, it kind of swells up here at the top. You can kind of even see it a little bit, that it has an actual bump right there, right where the edges, the swedges really, because this isn't a sharp edge at all, where the two swedges meet, this is probably the thickest point on the whole blade, just before the two swedges meet together. But then the swedges grind down really well, and you got a nice needle-like point on there. And the Damascus doesn't really look that bad. It looks pretty decent. It's definitely not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I would not say it's the world's greatest Damascus by any stretch of the imagination either. But because of what this knife is designed to do, this is one of those cases where it being cheap Damascus is not a problem. The hard portion of it, the fact that it doesn't have the best heat treat maybe, even works to an advantage when it comes to this thing just punching into stuff, because it really just does so well at doing that. So I'm kind of impressed with it. I'm really impressed with it, actually, in that it does what it's supposed to do quite well. Now, if you're going to try and use it as a letter opener or something like that, I think you're out of luck. I don't think I will ever be able to get it with any kind of real cutting edge whatsoever. But, well, do you need a cutting edge to do that? Not really. Is it going to cut down? If you wanted to rip a person's belly open with it, you could probably do that. You know? So yeah, it does what it's supposed to do. It's definitely an ouchie maker. This is something that if you were to poke someone, they would definitely know they were poked. And that's probably why it's never going to leave the house, because this thing is downright illegal to own or illegal to carry where I live. So it's not going to leave the house, but I can see why these things are popular. And one of the main reasons is this takes absolutely no practice whatsoever to use. All you have to do is put it in your hand, and if you know how to punch, you can punch with this thing. And it really just fits the hand quite well. At least it fits my hand quite well. One of the disadvantages of this knife is most likely the sheath. Not that it's a poorly made sheath. It's actually, for the knives I've seen out of Pakistan, this is a pretty well made sheath. It got a decent loop here for your belt. You see there's no goop dripping out anything inside. It's fairly well stitched. It's got a nice design going on with it. The snap opens and closes well. I don't feel like it's loose or anything like that. Got a nice rivet up there too. It's not just stitched on the back. And the knife fits it quite well too. So fit wise and appearance wise, the sheath is not bad at all. Also nicely burnished along the edges here. So all in all, the sheath is not that bad looking and not too poorly made. So I should be happy with it, with the exception that this is a push dagger, and it's one of those kind of things that you wish was hanging from your neck, and there's really no way to hang this from your neck. You would have to punch a hole in the bottom here, and I don't know if you'd be able to do that because of the blade. The blade, you can feel the blade right there. So I guess you could get a hole punched in right at the very bottom there to hang it from your neck. But I don't know if I would trust this to stay in the sheath with just this one strap here, the way it is designed and everything. I suppose what you would need in order to turn this into a neck knife would be to get a custom-made Kydex sheath that would be form-fitted and would somehow snap into this so that the blade would not come loose in the sheath and you could hang it upside down. I don't know if that's how practical that is also, because this knife weighs close to 200 grams or 7 ounces, so it is a fairly heavy knife, which also explains why it punches so well, because you've got a lot of weight going with it. So really, you're limited options with this on how to carry it. You could easily belt carry it, obviously, with it facing upward. You could also drop it in a boot, I suppose, but again, it's pretty heavy. So and 7 ounces is more than you think after a while. It might be dragging things down a little bit. So definitely something you could, I suppose, rig something so that you could wear it like a shoulder harness or something and have it underneath your armpit or something like that. That would be the logical place to try and conceal it to me, or just somewhere towards the back of your back, so you'd just have a back draw on it or something. It would be nice to see this so that you could scout carry it and pull it out. If you were to carry it this way, that'd be kind of cool too. Anyway, as it is, you got one sheath option for it, and that is basically, it's really designed to be strapped to your belt and just pulled out normal like, which is okay, I suppose, considering we're talking $12 here, and a very functional device. And looking at older versions of these knives from a long time ago, they really were something that were basically just dropped in a boot, worn up a sleeve. This would be way too big for me to wear up a sleeve because of how large the handle or handle is. You got to remember this is really a big push dagger compared to the ones of history. But in any case, yeah, well, you can see I was very impressed using it, and I really like the way it looks, and it has gotten me on a little bit of a push dagger kick. So you'll probably see a few more show up, and I will do some other reviews, and I will probably use this one as the base. Is it better than this? Is it worse than this? Especially when I look at some of the other Damascus ones that I'm looking at picking up, as well as a few other ones that are really made in China but through U.S. makers. So we'll see how all that goes. In any case, not going to be a lot of slides because this is the only push dagger I got, but I will show it with a couple of my other Damascus blades that I have. Sure hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to leave a comment and give it that big old thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell, and go out there and tell your friends there's another episode just around the corner. Thanks a lot for visiting. Really appreciate you being here. Talk to you again soon.